This is a grocery store that we threw together in about, I don't know how many days it's been. All the timing is blurring together, but I got access to this place on Friday. I started working on it on Thursday, and today it's Tuesday. So it's only been a few days that we've been putting this together. What we did last week was start emailing all the vendors that we really love around the valley. Now, I was worried about introducing Main Street Harvest. It's a name and a logo and a brand that I wanted for this for a long time. But I was worried that if I said, okay, this is going to be Main Street Harvest, and then it's just bread and, say, shrimp, that wouldn't be really like grocery. So when I started calling people, I had low expectations. My first call was Lab Notes. Luke from Lab Notes makes this small batch coffee. He's a small roaster in town. It's all ethically sourced. But I thought, if the store ends up only bread and coffee, that's okay. Like that'll work. And I was gonna run it under another kind of label that we have called Proof Collective. And it was supposed to be a bridge between what we're wanting and where we're at right now, like something incomplete of grocery. But I called Luke and he said, I'm in. Then I called my friend Danae, who we've been working with for a couple years on our pain au chocolat. She makes awesome chocolate. And it's, when I say she makes chocolate, like she actually takes cacao beans and transforms them into chocolate. A lot of chocolate makers are just blending already made chocolate to get the flavors that they want.
Hi, I'm Danae. I make DNA chocolate, which is right here. And we made all of this yesterday. So we've got, these are bonbons, turtles, bars and caramels, and this is hot cocoa here that we're working on. Little samples for people to see what it's like, the real hot chocolate. It comes in just pure cocoa bean. So if you want to learn something about chocolate, we've got 3 phases here. Well, we'll just bring all of my little toys over here. So we start with it growing on the tree, and this is where the farmer is involved. We get all of our chocolate directly from the farmer, so they set the price. And so even fair trade is only $1.09 right now a pound. We pay $5 to $7 a pound. That's what it takes for the farmer to send their kids to school and have a decent living. When we get the cocoa beans, they look like this. So they're like fleshy and yellow and red. They scoop the beans out, they ferment them, and then they dry them. And so when we get them, they don't smell like chocolate. They smell like a fermented, cocoa bean. When we clean them, roast them, and shell them, that's when they start to smell like chocolate. And this is where we have cocoa beans that you can eat. They're called cocoa nibs. You can't eat these. Well, you can, but you may not enjoy it because there's a wood shell on the outside. And when you take the wood shell off, they fall into little bits, and so they're called cocoa nibs. So it's the closest you can get to eating a cocoa bean. And because we don't overprocess or add anything to our chocolate that's crazy weird, just this is all one ingredient, it's still a superfood. Then we've got our brewing cacao. Once we get it shelled, then we mill it. And I actually went to some Aboriginal places in Central America and hung out with the tribes and learned how they did it in the beginning when chocolate was first made. And I used the original mill that they use. And you can brew this like coffee. Coffee and cacao are like brother, sister. It will not melt in the sun because it's more like a cocoa bean. Tastes kind of like a coffee. It's the original bitter brew. They couldn't grow coffee in Central America, so that's where chocolate comes from. Now this is stone ground. We do plug in our stone grinders, but we have 6 stone grinders now. Now, once we mill it, we put it in the stone grinder for a few days, and now it's chocolate. So the difference between this chocolate and, you know, what you can see on our turtles here is this has been tempered, so it's nice and shiny and it keeps the smooth texture of the stone grinding. But this was blocked and aged for 2 weeks, so it fell into a chalky, sort of crumbly mess, but it will still melt in the sun. Pure 100% cocoa bean, nothing else. You just melt a scoop in some hot milk, add sugar, stevia, maybe coconut milk if you're vegan. And there you got your hot chocolate. Make it as thick or thin as you want. And so those are kind of the stages of the bean. And then we go a little further into bars. If you were to open up, my father does all of our artwork. And so if you were to open up some of these, we'll just open this guy up here. This is the original farmer, Luciano Show. This is his farm. And some of the videos on our website, you can see him teaching his son how to do the farming. So our bar's backwards, but we make all our own molds. Everything's made in-house, everything. And then we have salted caramels, and then these are our bonbons. Our bonbons do not have any wax, preservatives, emulsifiers. Everything is just 1 or 2 ingredients. All we add to our bonbons is whole organic cream or coconut cream if they're vegan. And then this has a Montgomery cherry inside, so these are cherries. But even our white chocolate is from the bean. We press our cocoa beans. We use the butter, which is half the cocoa bean. Half the cocoa bean is butter, half is cocoa powder. So if you were to grind a cocoa bean, it would not end up like coffee. It would end up chocolate. So that's the finest you can mill it before it starts to turn into chocolate.
We've been using her chocolate for a few years in our pain au chocolat. And so I thought, again, if it's just bread, coffee, and chocolate, that works. She said yes. So then I kept going down the list one by one and seeing how far I got. By the end of it, I was talking to my friends at Wild Shrimp Co. who bring in wild caught shrimp from one of the best shrimping areas in the world, Rocky Point, Mexico. Actually, if you look it up on a map, it's Puerto Peñasco, Mexico. But we like to refer to it in Arizona as Rocky Point. It's kind of like our beach. 3.5-hour drive from here. It's the nearest saltwater around. It's really shallow over there, so it's a really warm water, perfect for shrimping. It's hard to find this shrimp in Arizona, even though it's abundant right across our border. So this was one of my last calls, and in between this wild caught shrimp and the bread and the chocolate are 20 other or so local products that we have put together over the last couple days. Amanda and I, we have been building a community for the last 3 years. We work at the farmers markets with a lot of these folks that are in here right now. We have sort of, I like to think, developed some trust. So when I called them all and said, hey, will you bring me some of your goods next week to try? We didn't charge anybody anything. This is a pop-up event that we're doing these next 3 days because we thought it's the holidays, people looking for great food. It's also been a really difficult year for a lot of the local vendors. So I thought that this would be a really interesting experiment to see how it'd play. And so far, it's been incredible. We're on day 2. Some of the stuff that got brought in yesterday got completely wiped out, like Southwest mushrooms. They grow just the most incredible mushrooms. And we had no idea how that would play. Like Mike brought in 5 pounds of oyster mushrooms yesterday, just in their raw state, and all 5 pounds sold within a few minutes. Yet it's not the type of thing that you'll find at the local grocery store. by the pound like that, so we didn't know, is there a market for oyster mushrooms? And it turns out it's strong. I'm begging him to come resupply me again before we close down tomorrow for the holiday. So you might also recall from previous footage that I almost have a look, not with this hat, which we just got recently, but the Steadfast Farm hat. Well, I'm happy to say that now I can properly introduce you to Steadfast Farm. This is another farmer that we have just the most incredible relationship with, that was fostered at the farmer's market. So we used to sell bread at the Uptown Farmer's Market across town, right next to them midweek. And at the time I was selling, and the person working for Eric, the farmer, was a chef. I remember he once gave me these salad turnips to try. Now, our local community might not know, unless you're like a foodie or you follow urban farms, you might not know what to do with a salad turnip, but they are so delicious, you can just eat them on their own. If you pair them with like some sort of a dip, they're an incredible snack. In fact, I went to this pop-up dinner that was put on by that same chef while he was working at Steadfast, and one of the appetizers he served in like this fine $120 per plate 5-course thing was these salad turnips, simply prepared just with a nice dipping sauce. So some of the products in here that we're carrying are definitely specialty grocery, but they are the type of grocery that's being grown locally and can be used to create exceptional meals. Like, consider our herbed rosemary sourdough that's crusted with peppers, toasted with some of this fresh produce, even those radishes. It's incredible what you can do once a bunch of local purveyors of food get together. I really believe that some of this food just is teeming with flavor. When you take one of these lemons, which are grown here locally in Mesa, and smell them, it actually smells like a lemon. You go to the grocery store and the produce doesn't smell like anything. I think that's one of the benefits of shopping small and trying to support your most immediate food community. For us, with the bakery next door, which our bakery is going to be right around the corner, like right around, that's our wall right there. And we think that these two buildings are going to really play well together symbiotically. We hope that we can even create like a closed cycle where maybe some of these fresh produce items that are perishable will start to age because somebody doesn't buy them on a particular day. Well, we have a bakery next door, so we think that we can creatively grab those and make them into something on the fly in the bakery. So that's kind of the type of thing that we're planning here. We had no idea what to expect when we were putting this all together over just a few days, but somehow, not somehow, I've literally been up 22-hour days the last couple days, barely sleeping, stressing like crazy to try to get the details together. And it hasn't been perfect by any means. We never did grocery before. We've been just a bakery. So yesterday when I opened up my POS here and started taking transactions, I immediately realized the need for a barcode reader as I tried to hunt for items through a large library like this when we're used to 20 items. So there's definitely a learning curve, but what this was all about and why it all came together so fast was I felt a sense of momentum. It was about a month ago that the idea came to my head that next door's under construction. We're building our bakery, right? So that building's off limits. Meanwhile, at the cottage bakery, the garage, we are really pressing at the limits now because we're getting ready to move into an actual brick and mortar. we have to ramp up so that we can afford the new real estate, we can afford a larger crew and whatnot. Ramping up in a garage with natural limits presents some problems. So the back half of this building, we can take a peek actually. We decided to kind of do a step into the brick and mortar. So come behind the wall of pre-orders that we have. These are all bread orders that people have ordered in advance. They can just come and grab them here. But this is now basically a packaging and distribution center for the bakery for the next few months. So we are delivering bread here every single day now while we get ready for this big move. And I mean, we've already done the packaging for this morning, but we've got everything set up for slicing and doing everything that we're going to be doing. The building actually connects in the back to our future bakery. So one day in the future, I'll be able to walk through this future hallway passage and go straight into the production space of the bakery. I should say the distribution space of the bakery. So we got a lot of plans for the building. Literally, the bakery is right here. This wall of aging flowers is going to be removed, and this will be a roll-up garage door. I've been coming over here every couple days, meeting with contractors, meeting with regulators, trying to hash out all the details, but we're working on trying to, well, not break the bank. As you know, probably by now, we've been running a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for this space. It's still daunting for us, and it's, I mean, the budget's a little whack, just because there's a lot to do. It might not seem like it. The building's beautiful, you can see that. The building's also 140 years old. So yesterday I was in here with our county, Maricopa County, and our kitchen is going to be up against this back wall. We're going to hide 8 feet of brick because we have to. The other wall is going to completely be floor to ceiling brick, but this one we have to build it out and put our kitchen basically on the inside of this wall so that we can still wipe the surfaces. Above though, we're going to have to seal this entire wall. So if I rub up against this brick, you can see that it's kind of loose and there's debris coming out. This one's not the worst spot on this wall by any means. You know, now that we're alone in here, if you don't mind, I'm going to free myself for a moment. Okay, so one of the challenges we overcame in the last couple weeks was just dealing with how do you build an open concept kitchen in this very historic building without wrecking it. The standard fare would be to put a drop ceiling overhead and put walls on either side and completely destroy the nature of the building. That's like, if you're just looking at the plans as a piece of paper, that's what you would advise. But the moment you step into this building, just like the county officials did, it's abundantly clear why we can't do that in this space, nor do we want to. We're going to have this open concept bakery in here where, pretend you're the baker and you're basically right where you are, even back up a couple steps, and now this is where you're working in front of a big long bench that spans the length of the building. Meanwhile, there's a little partition between us, and there's a counter height bar spanning the length of this front area where I can sit down, have my pastry, have my coffee, and you're over there working and shaping croissants right in front of me, shaping bread right in front of me. In reality, it's probably going to be the inverse of that. You'll be watching me bake or one of our crew members, but we're trying to make this immersive. So when you walk in that door, unless you want, of course, the quick service, because we're putting in a little window where you can walk up to our bakery and grab a cup of coffee, grab a bread, grab a pastry, and just be on your way. But if you step foot in here and choose to stay, you can hang out for a little while and just watch a bakery in motion. it will be a lot like our Sounds of the Bakery video, where you're just watching a bunch of people do their thing. There's something about food production as a whole that I think is really engaging for everybody. You see, we've lost our connection with food. We go to the store and things are made so easy. I have a crew member, his name's Logan, he's only 18, and he has a weird quirk where he enjoys canned food, like all kinds of canned food. So we did a Secret Santa and I drew Logan. So I got him a bunch of weird canned food. Now, I, on the other hand, don't ever buy canned food. So I was shocked. Like, you can go into the canned food section and find anything you want already made. Like, basically just warm it up and eat. And that's how easy food's gotten. You know, you go into a drive-through window, you come out the other end with a cheap meal. But when it comes to making food the right way, or growing food the right way, or baking sourdough the right way, there's a craft and an artisanship to it. People don't know what it means to be an artisan because that word is now thrown around culturally all over the place. For me, what it means is somebody that actually has a passion for digging deep into the core of what they're making, understanding the historical journey of production that's happened up till now, maybe not shying away from modern techniques, because for me, craft is an evolving thing. So we've actually had some comments on a couple of our videos that we're an industrial bread company because we're producing a lot of bread. I think it's laughable, actually, because if I took you to an industrial bread warehouse, you would see a place that would fit multiple of these in it, where you just have floor-to-ceiling machinery that's doing every step of the way. Meanwhile, I'm teaching my crew members every single step intricately. They learn the details of fermentation down to such a level that my crew members can go up to a piece of fermenting dough and tell you, is it under, is it ready, is it over? And they can see differences in like minutes in dough fermentation over a 24-hour period. They know when they're putting the bread in the oven slightly too early. And when you're dealing with a slow process like sourdough, of course, if you invested millions of dollars, you could try to mechanize things. And then everything would start to look the same. Tomorrow, actually, I'm getting done with what we're doing right now. This is like a quick intro, and then I have to let my staff next door just be, because I gotta head to the bakery. Tomorrow is a really busy day over here, and our whole crew is completely booked solid on production right now. So I'm stepping in and doing 120 mix, like it's our big batch of sourdough, but I'm gonna turn that one mix into 5 or 6 different products. And you can't do that with machinery. The machinery is all designed so that you have one piece of machinery that does one type of product really well. You try to change the formula, you try to change anything up, all of a sudden you can't. That's why you go to the store and you find the same type of bread or same type of whatever, any type of food just over and over again. And this trickles throughout our whole food economy. Look at produce as an example. We have lemons next door right now. We should probably get back over there. This is just an empty building right now. One day it's going to have a lot of life, and I can't wait for that. Right now it's just got a lot of character, and I think what it really needs is just energy. This whole downtown, I think, is going to be lit up by local food. We already have some incredible restaurants, and I hope that having access to a local food store right next door encourages kind of community cooperation. I can't wait to introduce everybody to it. We live in a state that identifies with citrus. Oftentimes people think of Arizona having 3 C's, cotton, copper, and citrus. 2 of those C's are agricultural, right? Yet, oddly enough, if you go to our farmers markets, citrus is pretty sparse. you can find some citrus groves if you know where to look. Last night, one of our vendors, he actually makes metal, like metal artwork. He has some metal ornaments and that kind of thing. He texted me and asked, hey, so I have a lemon that's abundant, and I've got some lemons that are ready to harvest. This is first of the season because we're just getting into citrus season right now. Well, so today we're selling them. So anyway, I'm really excited about this project. I think it's going to be really cool. One of the things that I find to be most rewarding about it is I have relationships with some of these vendors in here. Like Brittany, that she has a homestead, she has chickens, she has goats, and then she has a soap business in her kind of house cottage. She has a room set up just for soap production. So she makes these soaps, these shower steamers, but then she also raises hens for eggs, which are sold out, of course, because if you can find great pastured eggs, they just fly off the shelf. You can taste the difference, you can see the difference in a yolk when you crack open an egg that was a pastured hen versus cracking open a yolk of like an industrial egg. You see the color difference, the texture difference, and there's certainly a taste difference. So anyway, I could go on because I'm very excited about what's going on here. In fact, this whole thing really has brought me that like starting something new energy. Proof now is going through growing pains, like real growing pains, where we're raising money to build a bakery because it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this bakery. And so there's a lot of stress associated with that. I can't wait. I'm excited to go bake today because for the last few months I've been dealing with government and dealing with regulators and dealing with architects and plans and contractors, and my crew's been doing a lot of baking and doing an exceptional job. But today there's a need for me, and so I'm going in happily. I can't wait until baking is something that I can do more regularly again. But in the meantime, I'm fueling myself with this because I didn't need to build a kitchen in this space. In fact, in a few weeks we can launch this for real. This is a test pop-up, and I think it's going really well. I hope people are receiving it well. But going into the new year, we're going to hopefully make this a real deal, a real local grocery. So anyway, for more on this, follow us on Instagram at Main Street Harvest. That's Main ST Harvest. And we're gonna keep this thing going. I think that this is just a starting point, but what a start. I got every vendor that I asked to come in, so I couldn't be more pleased. Let's see where it goes from here.